While we've been watching one pandemic sweep the globe, we didn't see another one quietly and with no fanfare following in its footsteps. This one, perhaps more devastating and definitely much further reaching. The mental health crisis brought on by isolation and uncertainty is COVID's echo. A new study released today by the Canadian Mental Health Association shows an alarming trend with no sign of flattening. The lead researcher of that study is here to look at the numbers and has some good advice and simple advice on how you can help yourselves and your loved ones. Tonight, a special edition of the Happy Molecule Extra, the Echo Pandemic. This show is about your mental health. While it's supported by the pillars of positivity and hope, if you find yourself in crisis, please reach out for help. In many communities in both the United States and Canada, you can dial 211 to be connected to mental health and crisis services in your region. While it may seem like it at times, you are not alone. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this special edition of the Happy Molecule Extra, apart from our usual Sunday night routine. Here we are. What is this? I lose track of it so easily. Is this Wednesday? Parker? No, this is Thursday. This is Thursday. Parker says yes. It is Thursday. And I got this study sent to me this morning from the Canadian Mental Health Association. It's important. It's actually pretty big. Should be getting a lot more play. But I was thinking, should I hold it until my Sunday night show, or should I do a podcast on it next week, maybe a blog? I thought, no, I'm going to do a special live on this one. So for Facebook Live, so hi to everyone. I hope you're with me for this entire show, because what I have to say and what I have to reveal to you is important. And yes, it's a lot of bad news. However, we can turn it around relatively easy. First step is going to be in anything that we do to try and help and to rectify, and that is recognizing, first of all, there is a problem, and we're into a huge problem. And I'm going to argue that this problem, this crisis we are in right now, this mental health crisis, is worse and more deadly than COVID, and will be for years to come unless we act and do something about it. But you can. And this is stuff you can do as an individual too. You don't have to wait for the government to act or anything. There's all steps that you can take. So let me set this study up just a little bit right now. It was done by Maru Matchbox in mid-September to about 3,000 people aged 18 and up and living in Canada. So it's taken a while to compile the information. It was done back in September. That was before the second wave struck. So now we're into the second wave, and I'm sure these numbers are only going to worsen, sadly to say. Yes, I'm going to give you some bad news, and you know me, I don't like doing bad news, but I'm going to temper it with good advice and hope. I was going to say hope to do something, but no, hope. I want to fill it with hope as well. So what we're going to do in this program is we're going to take a real deep dive into the study. Not a deep dive. We're not talking about a 10-hour lecture here. We're going to spend about 15 minutes talking with the lead researcher on this. She's going to be joining me in a moment from Vancouver. But we're going to look at this. Then we're going to come back as well to talk about the results and what we can do about them. I'm going to take some of your comments at that time. And then I'm going to show you how to get help. Because maybe we're just assuming that everybody is fully aware of how to reach out for help. Well, you know what? We're going to try and make it so easy, and I'm going to show you the different places. And it may not impact you now, but it could impact you or a loved one in the future. My guess is, though, that you know someone or you yourself are living with a much worse mental health than you were back in March. So to begin with, let's talk to the lead researcher in this study. She is at the University of British Columbia, joins us now. Her name is Emily Jenkins. Hi, Doctor. Thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
It is a rather worrisome study.
It is very worrisome, and yet not all that surprising.
We've always thought that we've always known COVID is bad and we're hoping COVID will go away. The effects of this, the echo pandemic, the effects might be even felt longer than COVID.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think early on in the pandemic, there was the sense that perhaps these experiences were going to be transient, that they were normal responses to unprecedented circumstances that people were going through, and that the pandemic would end much sooner than it has, and things would go back to normal for people, and the mental health consequences would just start to disappear and we'd be fine. But as the pandemic drags on and there's remains no end really in sight, aside from the potential vaccines that may come at some point, I think that really takes a toll on people over time.
Let's look at some of the numbers. And while these numbers are worrisome, I want to, if we can, to try and put a little bit of hope behind the numbers and offer people some good advice as we go along. So let's start with this big number of 71% of people are worried about this second wave.
Yeah, so this data was collected back in mid to end September. So this was right when we were kind of heading into the second wave. People were quite concerned about it, and obviously now we're living in it, and we have been for a couple of months, and it's been a struggle. So that brings a lot of fear and anxiety for people, and a lot of unknowns.
And I mean, as I always say to on this show all the time is, worry about what you can control and what you can't control, but that's not always the easiest thing to do.
It's not. And for people who have that tendency to worry and have anxiety, it's, near impossible, especially when we're bombarded with these very fear-based messages in media, and there's, the doom scrolling that happens. You just can't resist checking it out and seeing what's happening. But it means that we're just inundated with these very concerning statistics about the virus, about the implications that it's having on people's well-being, their everyday lives. It's not healthy.
I'm going to ask you if this next number surprised you or not, because it surprised me that it was so high. 58% say they are worried about a loved one or a family member dying. I was surprised it was that high, that people are that worried about, in particular, a loved one dying.
Yeah, I think it's really hard with the messaging that's come out around the virus, and there's a lot about it could happen to you. It can happen to anybody. And for those of us who have, older family members or those who struggle with a comorbid condition that puts them at increased risk, there's quite a lot of fear about what that might do.
Here's a low number for a change, but sadly, it's not a number we want to see low. And that is 21% of people say they are hopeful. 21%. Wow.
This, I think, is maybe one of the most concerning figures for me in this entire study. Earlier on during our Wave 1 data collection, which was done back in May of this year, we saw that, there were high levels of these challenging emotions like anxiety and worry, depression, sadness, despair, those types of things. But we also saw quite high numbers of positive emotions, those ones that we know are going to be protective and help to create resilience and, mitigate some of the potential harms of the pandemic. And now what we're seeing in the second wave is that those positive types of emotions have decreased, and fewer people are feeling hopeful, fewer people are feeling content or empathetic. And that's really concerning.
And it's my hope that people at least will get the proper research and reach out for help, and we can increase that number. I always say that the opposite of depression is hope.
Yeah, well, and it's why we need to consider how our mental health care services are structured and use the experiences that we're having, shared experiences across the country, these challenges to inform changes to a mental health system that's long been broken and that focuses on acute and crisis response, instead of trying to build those factors that support people's resilience and their strength.
It is so true. Our mental health system has been broken for years. Uh, we have not seen significant changes. Like I'm talking significant changes in 100 years. Yes, there's different medications, there's different therapies, but to me, it still seems that we're stuck in many old ways of psychoanalysis, et cetera, and it's your mom's fault or your dad's fault or whatever. So maybe this is what we need to really give us the kick in the butt, because we weren't doing anything before COVID. I'm hopeful that mental health treatment will be the better for it when we get through this crisis.
Yeah, I'm hopeful about that too. And I would expand and say that beyond what we've traditionally considered as treatment, that we see a shift to addressing some of the root causes of mental health challenge. And those have been highlighted for us in this pandemic, perhaps more than they ever have before. Within the context of the pandemic, people have struggled with job security. They've been furloughed, they've been laid off, their businesses have been closed down for extended periods of time, and they don't know if they can continue to operate. People have struggled with food security. They may not have access to secure or safe housing. Our ability to access care for our children or educational systems has it disappeared for a good several months there, and now it's back, but still a lot of fear about that. People are isolated. Sorry, I could go on and on, but
No, please. And I have to, okay, folks, this expert here that I'm talking with has been on Zoom all day with media and still has a number of interviews following this one. So I really want to, first of all, tell people that, but I also want to tell you how much I appreciate you giving me this time. So it's absolutely wonderful. Getting the word out there is what's important, especially when it comes to mental health. Now, 40% of people say their mental health has deteriorated since March. If you start talking about either marginalized or vulnerable communities, such as those with pre-existing mental health issues, Indigenous, LGBTQ2+, those with disabilities, the numbers go up to like 60% of people say their mental health has deteriorated.
Yeah. Yeah, and so we hypothesize that this is because, the pandemic has layered, additional forms of stress, as I've just outlined, that have impacted people's everyday lives, the conditions that they live in, and for certain populations or groups, these are amplifying pre-existing health and social inequities that, led to exclusion, discrimination, stigma, racism, that created mental health disparities prior to the pandemic, and now they're worsening or widening.
There's another word that we did not talk about. It was hard enough to get people to talk about mental health even prior to the pandemic, but the other word that we don't talk about is suicide, and that has been, as it turns out, the wrong thing to do. By not talking, it really worsens things. So on average, pre-COVID, the number of people who had suicidal thoughts or feelings was 2.5% of the population in Canada. It is now, and it was 6% after COVID started in March, it's now 10% of people say they have had thoughts of feelings of suicide.
Yeah, 10% of the general population. And again, that number rises profoundly, exponentially for certain population subgroups. So, good chance that you or I or anybody who's listening knows somebody who's having these thoughts right now within our own social circles. In fact, a friend in our social circle took his life earlier this year due to stresses of the pandemic. So it's it's a personal thing, and I think one that unfortunately more people can relate to than we would want.
So a pause here right now to let people know, if you've had these thoughts, you're not crazy, okay? And it is your own mind asking for help, and I encourage anybody not to keep these feelings to themselves, but to reach out. Tell anybody who will listen, because there are other alternatives, and sadly, you're probably not the only person thinking about that.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the key drivers we think of this experience right now, aside from, economic consequences, which we know have profound implications on people's, thoughts of suicide, are the experiences of isolation or being cut off from, people who you can connect with. Quarantine itself is associated with significant elevations in suicidal thinking. And so, you have that in addition to these other very concerning experiences, as I mentioned, like job loss, food security, housing insecurity, those types of things. So it really creates the perfect storm for these types of feelings. But there are resources out there for people, and many people don't know about them. The Canadian Mental Health Association, who's my partner on this research, has the Bounce Back program, which has been now expanded nationally, and is available to provide online coaching and supports and resources to people who are struggling with mild to moderate stress, anxiety, or depression. The federal government has invested heavily into these resources as well, and they have Wellness Together Canada. Both of these are evidence-based. They're available free of charge to people. Don't wait until it gets to a crisis point to access these. They're very appropriate for building the skills necessary to deal with some of these stressors earlier on. But if you are in crisis, there's also the services to support you in that. Crisis Canada has a 1-800 number that people can access at any time.
I'm going to be giving all these numbers and different contacts in a few minutes, so folks stand by.
Yeah, just wanting people to know that there are people and resources out there to help.
Now, one more stat. 39% of people say they're worried about finances, and there are people there who have lost their jobs. There are people there who are furloughed, who are laid off, who have lost their businesses that they had already poured their life savings into. And so this is a very real condition. This is a very real worry. 39% of people.
Yeah, as I said, that 39% that worry about finances, the worries about jobs and stuff, those are a leading challenge for people right now during the pandemic. They are attributing a good proportion of the stress that people are experiencing beyond the fears of the virus itself, as you were discussing earlier. There's other researchers who've done analyses that have suggested that we'll see a spike, an increase in 2,000 suicides this year alone, just from the direct economic consequences of the pandemic. So a profound impact on mental health.
A lot of times when we see these studies, they're a snapshot, and it's left at that. My guess is you want to see more done with the results of this study.
Yeah, so this is wave 2. We're hoping for a wave 3 and more to come. This helps us to be able to gather the data that's needed to really do that advocacy work that I talked about earlier, to create a mental health system that might actually work, and in which people might actually be able to access the care that they need, and that might be oriented more to community-based services and supports, and to strengthening the types of environments that that we need to be healthy and to thrive. So we want to continue to see that happening. Our team is doing a lot of outreach with provincial and federal governments to help inform the types of the responses that we see, as well as with local clinicians and health systems to try and make sure that the responses are data-driven and informed by what's happening right now for people.
What blows me away whenever we talk about the need for a better mental health system, what blows me away is it would cost next to nothing, but the savings that we would realize in the rest of the healthcare system would be amazing. We would save trillions of dollars overall if we would just spend a little bit on mental health. I heard a horrible statistic not too long ago here in Ontario that we spend more on the flu than we do on the entire mental health of the population. Now, slowly that's changing. In fact, there are programs now being offered in Ontario. I know there are now in BC that the provincial government is now ponying up the cash for, and I encourage people to take advantage of that. But this mental health, to take care of it properly, is cheap.
Yeah, and cheap to our healthcare system, but also cheap to our economy. You know, if you have people who are mentally healthy, they can work, they can, maintain their jobs, their quality of life. It costs all of our systems a lot less if we say that we value mental health and work to protect it and promote it. I think that's definitely a direction that we need to be going. And if there's a silver lining to this pandemic, it's the fact that too many of us know personally now how mental health can be impacted and what the consequences feel like. And so hopefully that will put some pressure towards creating some change.
I certainly hope so. I want to thank you so much for this time that you've given us.
Thanks, Kevin, for having me and for doing this important work.
For years, we have ignored mental health. For years, we have just sort of stigmatized it. And if you had a mental health problem, well, we don't want to talk to you. We don't want to talk about you. And the chickens have come home to roost, so to speak. We can't avoid it anymore. We need to talk about it. And, if we've learned anything from COVID, it's that what the hell is wrong with this world? What is wrong where we can't get together to defeat a microscopic virus? We can't, because we argue. We don't support each other. We send out conspiracy theories. Instead of getting together, think about this. If the world could get together for just 3 simple weeks, we could maybe not defeat COVID, but bring it to its knees and bring it to a manageable point. If we got together, it doesn't seem all that difficult. It's just a matter of saying we have an enemy. Let's have you think back to all those movies, right? Of Mars invading. And all our movies show Earth gets together and fights a common enemy. No, you know what? We can't even fight a microscopic virus. So this is something that worries me more than COVID, because COVID will pass. And I want you to know that. I want you to know that right now. It seems like it's been in this forever. It will pass. It will. We need to work together to help that. And we're going to lose people. People will die, but this will pass. The mental health crisis has been brewing for years, for decades, for centuries. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. And COVID has only accelerated it. This isn't going to pass unless we do something. Unless we do something about it. I was watching a lot of your comments while the doctor was speaking, and people talked about fear mongering. And yeah, the problem is now is that that's what media does the best, is fear monger. It's always what we used to do, or what we still do, where we want the most sensational story and the worst leads, and good news is a kicker story that goes on at the end of the entire news. So yeah, we hear nothing but the bad. So yeah, it may seem like fear-mongering now. I actually listen to people now or talk to people now who say they don't think it exists. I don't know anybody who's died or has gotten sick. Do you? It exists, okay? Stop it. It exists. People are dying. People are sick. People are scared. People are losing their businesses. It is real. And all you do by extending this fear-mongering and these conspiracy theories is kill people and kill businesses. So yeah, we need to get through this, but we need to get through it together. So that's COVID. Okay, that's COVID over here. Then there's the mental health crisis, the echo pandemic, and you're going to hear that a lot more in the next few months. So now we have the echo pandemic. We can actually do something about this. If you're familiar with this program, I tell you that if you're going to, stress and anxiety is worrying about things a lot of times that you can't control. There is some control you can have over the mental health of yourself and your loved ones. But you need to prepare for it. And you need to, first of all, admit you may have a problem, or someone may have a problem, or that there is a problem. And then you work from there. I want you to find ways to have hope, because the opposite of depression is hope. I want you to be able to say, okay, first hope, COVID will pass. I know this will pass. It's going to be a pain in the ass until it does, but it will pass. If it is affecting your mental health, then you need to reach out for help now before it becomes too late, because there is a time that it becomes too late. And if you don't, you're in trouble. Someone talked about prevention as well a little bit earlier. And yeah, prevention is so important. So even if you are not being impacted by a mental health crisis right now, depression, anxiety, stress, always be on the guard for it. Always be on the lookout for it. Think, they say think good thoughts. Yeah, it works. It really does work. We hear nothing but the negative. We thrive on the negative, but there is positive out here. And the positive in this mental health crisis is it's fixable. It's fixable, but we have to want it to be fixed. The old joke. How many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? Answer, only one, but the light bulb has to want to change. You have to want to have good mental health. And I really hope you do. Someone was talking about the fact that they were one of the 10% who had suicidal thoughts, and they added in there, I am seeking help. Good on you. You know what? We have our moments of weakness. Things can get so bad that you might think that suicide is the only way out. And you know what? It does. If you think about it enough, you can convince yourself, yeah, it is the way out. And it is the easiest thing. But, I need you to get past that wall, that thought. Sometimes suicide is a wall, right? You get to that wall and you hit it and you can't see anything around that wall. I want you to look around the wall. First thing you need to do is you need to realize how many people in this world love you and appreciate you. And how many people would be so sad that you didn't reach out to them for help? If you have these thoughts, like I said, with Dr. Jenkins, you're not crazy. In fact, you could almost argue it's logical. However, it's not the right thing. It's not. And we're going to be talking about suicide on the Happy Molecule a few more times later on this week, and some of the experts I've talked to agree that people who are talked away from taking their life by suicide realize afterwards, oh, I can't believe I thought about that. So there is help if suicide has entered your mind. Calm down. It's okay. I want you to contact, where is it? Right there. There we go. I want you to contact Suicide Prevention, 833-456-4566. 833-456-4566. You can also Google suicide prevention online, and there are crisis counselors there. And you know what? They're not going to make fun of you. They're not going to say, oh, you're stupid, or you're a coward, or I can't believe you do that. We're sending the police right now. No. You know what they're going to do? They're going to listen. That's the first thing you're going to notice when you talk to these people. They're not going to have the answer for you. They're going to listen. So reach out. Reach out. This world would not be a better place without you. It would not. Quite the opposite. I can't say that enough. And when I say reach out, reaching out is important no matter what the mental health issue is. CMHA.ca is a great place to go to for resources. That's the Canadian Mental Health Association, not the Canadian Minor Hockey Association. They're wonderful as well. But the Canadian Mental Health Association is a great place to start. Okay, I promise. I'm gonna bring you through the internet. I want you to stay with me if you can, okay? Because this is important. It really, really is important. I'm not being paid for this. I'm not being sponsored for this. But this is so important. And we're going to go through the internet in just a moment. But the first thing I want to do right now is I do want to get some of, let me see. I'm trying to get, okay. Just give me a second. Just give me 1 second here. You know what? You know what's so wonderful about my viewers is they're not even listening. You guys aren't even listening to me. You're talking with each other and you're supporting each other. If this show provides you with a place to reach out, okay, go for it. That's great. So that's why I'm looking at all these conversations, right? Oh, wait. Okay, so here's Edith. First of all, great light bulb joke. Yes. I have a bunch of light bulb jokes from when I was in television. How many producers does it take to change a light bulb? I don't know. What do you think? See that if you're in the business, you would laugh at that. Anyway, let me see. I'm trying to get. Where's the love? There was something here about an ER nurse. Just wow. Okay, there's Fabiana. Yes, we need to talk about it. Yeah, for sure. Okay, someone was talking about their doctor not supportive of mental health issues. Find another doctor. There's still that old-fashioned stigma with mental health that your physical and biological health is separate from your mental health. And if your doctor believes this, find another doctor. I learned a while ago that not all doctors are as smart as they may appear to be. When I was a kid, a doctor was a doctor, and we did not question anything. But if your doctor does not see the importance of mental health and how it's connected directly to your biological health, then find another doctor. All right? Let's see. Okay. Let's see. That's me. I can't find one. Yeah. Okay. I can't find a, there's got to be, there are doctors out there. And there's telehealth and all sorts of places to call. Just before we go to some more comments, I'm going to bring you, let's do this, bring this up here, because I wanted to show you just how easy this is. I hope you can still hear me because my microphone is very directional. So let's start first of all with suicide, okay? Suicide prevention, it comes up very, very quickly there. So right away, you see, we've highlighted what the number I gave you. Help is available. But if you look down here, there's also all sorts of, from the Government of Canada, suicide prevention signs. There is something here for you. So let's say mental health awareness. Okay, let's do that one. Now, when you see the word ad, okay, that is sponsored by a company. You know what? That's okay. Actually, in this case, I believe, I'm not sure who that one is, but for the most part, you know what? even worth checking out because the government is now paying for a lot of mental health programs. So at one point when there were ads, now the government's paying for it. Let me show you one in particular. And this is the one I'm most aware of. Mind Beacon. Okay, so Mind Beacon, all right, they are a for-profit company, okay? That's okay. They do a lot of great work with Manulife and I think with Sun Life, I'm not sure, but they do a lot of great work, and they have been mainly doing work with group health insurance programs. But now the government's paying for it. So look at this. For Ontario residents, it's now available free of charge to Ontarians through stress and mental health being concerns. So, you know what? Take advantage of this. Sign up now. Look at that. And what they will provide you with is digital therapy. Now, they're not the only ones, okay? So if you get in touch with whoever provides your group insurance, if you do have it, if not, just research some digital, let's see, Google, hold on. How about digital mental health programs? Look at that. There you go. Top 10 mental health programs right here. Okay, so now you're going to have to filter them out to your needs and to your area as well, your region. But it's definitely something to think about. But this is your greatest resource. So signs of depression. Okay. Now, I want to get past, in this case, I want to get past the ads. Okay, you see the word ad here on the left part of the screen? I want to get past that. And I want to look for something that is, okay, so here's Mayo Clinic. Mayo Clinic's a very reputable source. Go to reputable sources. So here we go. We have some symptoms, feelings of loneliness, tearfulness, emptiness, hopelessness, angry outbursts. And most of these reputable sites will also provide you with answers and things you can do. I find I tend to blather on after a while and just ramble on. Let me see. Everyone's talking about trying to find a good doctor. And finding a good doctor is tough. But walk-in clinics are still doctors. So just say, I want someone who can help me with my mental health. And then, if a doctor questions you, bring your biology textbook and show the doctor how your brain and where your moods are stored is connected to the rest of your body. So if your doctor is as concerned with you eating fats and sweets, your doctor should be as concerned about whether or not you have depression. And you know what? 99% of the doctors are. They really are. Don't let me paint them all with the same brush. They are. They're very good. So this is a wake-up call. This is a chance for us to do something, and you can. It is relatively easy to do. You first of all have to recognize there's a problem, but please don't sit there and wait for someone to help you. You are your own mental health advocate. Get up. It may be tough. You may have no motivation. When my depression kicks in full gear, I don't even want to get out of bed. But this is for you. This is for your loved ones. Get up. Get to the computer. Get to the doctor. If he or she tells you to take medication, take the damn medication. You can talk with your doctor and your pharmacist, and together you can balance the medication so it doesn't have as hard impact on you, but it's a necessary evil right now to stabilize yourself. But work together in a program. You are your own mental health advocate. We talk about a lot of these things on the podcast, which is The Happy Molecule that I host, and it's available every Tuesday for download. Next week, we're going to be talking about loneliness. I had such an interesting conversation today with a woman whose sister was a member of parliament in the UK who was assassinated, basically. And her legacy became the appointment, get this, of a minister of loneliness in England. Look it up. We need one here. A minister of loneliness. That's how serious the problem is. So she is fascinating, and that will be coming up on the podcast on Tuesday. Here's the intro for the podcast. The happy molecule. Happy molecule refers to dopamine, which is a hormone that our body produces that gives us pleasure. So all December, living with depression at Christmas time. Good advice, good company. And that is for every single episode of the Happy Molecule podcast and the Happy Molecule Extra here on Facebook Live. Together, let's make Christmas merry again. I work on those slogans. The other thing that I have done, one thing that really does help is with your mental health issues is to give back. It does make you feel good. And you know what I'm talking about. So I wanted to make it easy for you. So I searched long and hard for a charity that was perfect. And there are so many. There really, really are. And I hope you will help this one. But if not, find a charity. This charity provides Christmases for families. Very grassroots. You don't hear about them. You don't hear a lot about them. But every Christmas they provide between 600 and 700 families with a tree with all the trimmings, food for Christmas, snowsuits, coats, boots, presents for the kids. Every Christmas they do this. So I want you to get in touch with these good people at Holiday Helpers. It's holidayhelpers.org. Very simple, but could you imagine, helping someone else smile at Christmas who may not have had a reason to smile? It'll help you. Let's go back and remind you now of all the different numbers. Suicide prevention, 833-456-4566. CMHA.ca, lots of information. Great place to start for working on your mental health. And Happy Molecule podcast. I hope you do. If you haven't heard it yet, go to your favorite podcast directory, or you can just simply go to thehappymolecule.com. And I have links to podcasts in there. Then now, let's talk a little bit about this. Hold on. Let me just bring this back up. Get rid of that. Hold on, Cameron. I'm going to put your comment back up. My mom is 91 and alone in a retirement home in Kingston. I know she is lonely, but I just cannot visit her. Yeah, it is tough. My mother, also 91, and I'm not able to visit her. She's up in North Bay. That's tough. It is tough, and we're going to have to bear this. We're just going to have to bear this. But think about this. If she's in a retirement home, most likely they're forbidding you to visit her because they want to make sure she's okay. So a lot of these seniors who are in homes that we can't visit, I'm going to have to trust that they're taking care of them. So that's good. She is being taken care of. Let me see. What was that? Giving back helped me to overcome trauma. Yeah. And Karen, loneliness is huge. People don't get it. No, they don't. Human beings are social animals. It's in our DNA. We need the company of other human beings. You can be as curmudgeon as you want, and you can say, I'm a loner. No, you're not. We need that. So yeah, this is going to hurt right now. So reaching out to people in other ways is a great way that you can help out. Let me see. Thank you for taking your time to help on this own time. I learned a lot today. I'm glad, Deborah. I'm glad you learned. I hope, if we can reach one or two people each time with one of these broadcasts, then fantastic. We can, staying away is the best medicine, sadly, for our seniors. It really is. Okay, that's it. That's it for tonight. I will see you again, Facebook Live, coming up this Sunday evening, as we do every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. You can get in touch with me through thehappymolecule.com, and there is this is what you can do for me. Okay, this is what you can do for me. You can go to a podcast directory, Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, etc., and you can subscribe to my podcast. I would really appreciate that, because I am trying to attract sponsors and advertisers, and that's the way you do it. So that helps me. My YouTube channel, go to YouTube and search Kevin Frankish channel. And if you can subscribe to that, that'd be wonderful. Anytime you share one of my blogs, one of my posts, you sign up an email so I can send you an email whenever there is a new blog that's posted on thehappymolecule.com. That helps as well. I'm asking you as a favor, if you could. You don't have to do all this, but I would really appreciate it. So we will be back Sunday. The whole gang will be here. If you're new to this, I hope you give us a chance. Hope you stay with us. It's a growing family, a growing community, and we care about each other. So until Sunday, take care of yourself and take care of each other.